You see, Lake Pedder is more than itself. It's a beautiful lake, but it represents, I think, to the conservationists in Tasmania, a kind of symbol for conservation. You might say a symbol for civilization.
Clive Sansom, Hobart education writer and poet.
Because for any community to destroy something as beautiful as that when it need not be destroyed seems to me an act of vandalism, not an act of a civilized community.
That time my party was...
Tasmania's Premier, Mr. Angus Bethune. Why did his government recently knock back a move to hold a referendum on Lake Pedder?
The Legislative Council had a select committee who examined the whole proposal and brought in a recommendation that should go ahead. It would cost, short term, at least $11 million to go back, quite apart from the long-term effects. The time has passed when there's any possibility of a change of decision.
An economic necessity or an act of vandalism. Whichever way you look at it, it's big. Nearly 30 times the amount of water in Sydney Harbour will be held back by 4 dams. This, far and away the largest storage in Australia, will be in 2 parts, joined by a canal. The northern part, that feeds directly to the power station, will be called Lake Gordon. And the southern part will be called Lake Pedder, though the present Lake Pedder occupies only a tiny bit of the area. The strong opposition is to the new Lake Pedder. Our conservationists opposed to the Lake Gordon part of the scheme.
Not now, no. I think at one time I would have liked it to have been left intact, but the scheme has gone so far now that I don't think it should be affected. But Lake Pedder can be saved without affecting the rest of the scheme.
The politicians say, look, we're not really destroying something that's beautiful, because the lake that's going to be formed by raising Lake Pedder will be extremely beautiful itself. What's your reply to this?
Look at the other lakes which have been affected by the hydroelectric, where you have them littered with the skeletons of trees. But hardly a place in Tasmania that has been dealt with by the Hydroelectric Commission is really an object of beauty.
The new economy-size Lake Pedder will be visible from this spot. In fact, it'll cover the valley. And, says the hydro, it, along with the rest of the storage, will be an object of beauty from the start. Trees that would otherwise be left breaking the surface will be cleared before the flooding. At present, it seems almost certain that the government will go ahead with the scheme. And that means that within a couple of years, the spot where I'm standing now will be under about 50 feet of water. Lake Pedder and the beach, as they are today, will be lost forever. It's not surprising that the conservationists have decried the scheme. And it's not surprising either that the politicians have countered with the claim that Tasmania must have more and more electric power. But perhaps what has been slightly surprising is the nature of the protest. 4 years ago, when the scheme was first announced, there was a big outcry, and it went on for some time. Then, when the Parliamentary Select Committee came down in favour of the scheme, the protest died away. But now it's sprung up again. Just why? Perhaps it's the growing awareness, here as elsewhere, of the need to conserve, and especially the need for untouched wilderness. Or perhaps it's the realisation that this could be, for Lake Pedder, the last summer.
During those morning and evening periods, we find the roads choked with traffic. Now,
The media have been part and parcel of the new wave of protest. Even if they didn't start it rolling, they've certainly given it a healthy shove. A couple of months ago, the local ABC Current Affairs programme took what it described as an affectionate look at Lake Pedder. In charge of the programme, Harry Holgate.
Oh, tremendous response. I'd say it's the best response we've had of any single item for the past 12 months. In fact, we got so many requests to repeat the item, we did just that. And I think we had a much bigger audience the second time than we did on the first occasion.
What do you think the outcome would be if a referendum was to be held?
I think the referendum would be won, mainly because so many people feel overwhelmingly nostalgic about the lake.
For most of the year, the waters of the lake lap right up to the vegetation. But during summer months, the beach emerges. 2 miles long, 600 yards wide, it provides one of the big scenic attractions, as well as the easiest way of getting in to see the beauty of the area as a whole. The claim has been made that during the past summer, this has been the busiest weekend airport in the state, as visitors, inspired by everything from vague interest to the fervour of pilgrimage, make sure they see Pedder before the inundation. Not all the visitors come by air. Many make use of the road put into the area by the hydro and paid for by a direct grant of $5 million from the Commonwealth Government. Previously, it took up to 5 days to walk into Lake Pedder. The new road has cut that back to about 5 hours. In building the road, the hydro unwittingly provided a stick for its own back. It's been a boon to the weekend hikers. During the long weekend at the beginning of March, nearly 1,000 of them arrived, and the conservationists have used the fact for their propaganda.
This is a crisis.
The numbers on this day fell far short of the 1,000 mark, but they were still sufficient to give this slice of wilderness all the peace and serenity of a fairground, and point to one possible danger if the lake were to be saved: how to get rid of waste and prevent a beauty spot becoming an ugly spot.
Open up some of that bread, Greg, please.
You must have been anemic.
Must have been, he was. You look like you got to the rail end.
A beach subject to only one tide a year could easily lose its charm. But that's only a secondary consideration at the moment. First, save your beach and its surroundings.
Our meeting together, I sent a letter to the Duke of Edinburgh, the Government House in Edinburgh.
2 distinct waves of protest, and with this second wave, a new protest group, the Lake Pedder Action Committee.
Well, Mr. Chairman, the Legal Subcommittee has considered the implications of legal action, and we recommend now that this matter should be taken further.
As well as looking to the law, plans to keep tabs on political candidates.
Now, the dossier on the candidates will consist of help in directing us to decide whether they are going to be favourable or unfavourably biased towards or against conservation. And this will include details regarding their private life, in a sense of what they do in their spare time, and in particular with regard to those sitting members, what their voting habits have been in the Legislative Council. And this will be quite easy to obtain.
With the scheme underway, the fight is now to modify the plans so that Lake Pedder is saved. They claim it could be done without adding more than 10% to the present cost of more than $100 million.